So the level 1 is used for mainly warming blood products. If we want to warm IV fluids, we already have warmed IV fluids. If we want to pressure infuse fluid or blood, you can use pressure bags. But if we want to warm blood products, the level 1 is the only way to do that. So you're going to need the level 1 tubing, and then you need some fluids, crystalloids, or blood to prime the tubing. The level 1 has no battery power, so it will need to be plugged in to be used. And the order in which you should do things is always, you should prime the tubing first and then turn the machine on. So when we take the tubing out, like all tubing that comes, IV tubing as well, all of your clamps are open. And so at a minimum, we're going to want to close the roller clamp, but also both sides of the Y tubing will need to be clamped as well. If you are hanging IV fluids, one of the things, we want to get all sources of air out of this tubing. So one way that air can get into the tubing is there's air in the IV bag itself. So we could spike that and then remove the spike and squeeze the air out. When we start out, we can just hang it from the hook here. And then when we load the tubing, before we prime it, it's numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. So number 1, I want to slide the warming section down till I get a nice seal in there. You want to push it back in here, because there is a sensor in here, and then make sure we pull number 2 all the way down so we get a tight seal here and lock this in place. The filter and tubing are going to go here at 3 and 4. Now this opens like an accordion. When you push this, it opens up and down, and the tubing is going to go above this, okay? So you put your tubing in here, and then the filter does have to be popped all the way back in because there is a sensor here. And then this closes essentially the same way. Push up and back, okay? When I fill the drip chamber, I'm going to squeeze until I get all the air out of the chamber. I'm not going to squeeze it half full. I'm going to completely fill it. Now here's something that will make your life a little easier, is there's a clamp below the air sensor by number 3. I'm going to clamp that, because what I want to happen when I prime this is I want the filter to completely fill with fluid and remove all the air bubbles from it before I prime the rest of the tubing. Otherwise, this is a potential source of getting air bubbles in your system, okay? So I'm going to unclamp here, and I'm going to help it fill a little faster. I can squeeze this. You can see this is completely filled. Now all the air comes out of a little valve at the top. So now I would be able to unclamp and prime the rest of the tubing. Okay. Now when I turn it on, there's just a green button and a red button. Okay? So I can turn it on. It's going to do an initial check of its alarms, and then if it's loaded correctly, it should no longer continue to alarm. The other thing, if I'm going to infuse more than one unit, I would like to prime the remainder of this tubing, okay? So this tubing is clamped. What I can do is hold this lower and clamp here, and then I can backfill this to get all the air out of this side. Now if I want to pressure infuse this, I open it up. There's 3 hooks on the inside, and depending on the blood product that you're using, I want to pick a hook that allows me to hang this and close the door without closing it on the tubing. So usually the top hook will work best for tall platelets. The middle hooks would work well for PRBCs and FFP, and the bottom hook for small blood product units like cryoprecipitate. So I'm going to hang this on the middle hook, close the door and lock it in place. And that allows me, I didn't shut the door on the tubing itself, and then I simply turn this on. The pressure bag infuses. In about another 30 seconds, the temperature automatically goes to about 40 to 42 degrees Celsius. So right now it's at 38 degrees Celsius. I'll be ready to infuse in about another 30 seconds. That's it.